Good morning. And today's King Queen of Hearts. In this hand, we have two limpers, and it is on me. Villain 5 limps. I've got 24 hands on him. I only have 5 hands on Villain 7. I'm going to go ahead and assume that both players are fairly loose, especially this player. Over 24 hands, he's played 33% of hands, and I believe I took a note. I didn't say what he limped. But I think most players are just going to limp their pockets minus the hands that they would have raised with. Maybe something like this. He's definitely playing 33%, so he's going to be fairly wide. Probably suited aces is my guess. The Broadways, probably offsuits as well. That's 20.5%. Maybe he raises with ace, queen, and ace 5. Show pre-flop raise 9%. I think that's pushing it. Whether or not he raises with those ace queens, probably has these one gappers in there. Maybe these offsuit connectors as well. Something pretty loose. The second player though, he limped after this player. Over 5 hands, he's played 160. I'm gonna say that he is playing basically the same range. So both players are playing fairly wide range, and then it's on us. And in this spot cutoff, I'm going to be raising basically my standard raise here. I'm not going to assume that these players are going to be folding or calling. Just going to say that they're pretty weak, so I'm gonna play a standard opening raise. If I reduce hands, it's going to be these. It'll be these offsuit aces that I drop, and maybe like hands like 2, 3s, and 4s. But I'm going to say that that's my range. How much do I raise? I've been going 5 or 6 big blinds plus 1 for every limper. So here I did 7 big blinds. So 5 plus 2 limpers, which I think is fine. It's applying pressure. So the first limper folds, and then the second limper ends up calling out of position. So when he calls out of position, I think I'm going to tighten up his range a bit. He didn't have to call. Maybe something. We'll get rid of these suited one gappers. We'll leave like the suited Broadways, King 10, Queen 10. Those always look good. Suited connectors, maybe not all of them. And we'll leave the suited aces. So now we're going to go see a flop. So their pre-flop range, 13.3%. They have 176 combos. My raise is 20.4. I have 270 combos. And the flop comes out ace 8, 5 rainbow. So we had ace of hearts, 8 of spades, and 5 of clubs. And that's actually looks pretty good for us. I think it's a lot of our aces range. It's a pretty dry board. Villain is going to check, so it's on us, and I think this is where I made a mistake. So I think we could check behind. This isn't a board that's really going to hit villain a whole lot, but I think he's going to be folding a lot. So what we're going to have to do is kind of think about what kind of hands are we going to be able to cbet here and plan to pick it up a high percentage of the time. So I think we're definitely raising any of our open-enders and our gut shots, and then I think our 2-card backdoor flushes are going to be ones that we bet. So that gives us 28.83%. Now, when it comes to, what value hands we're going to bet, I don't think we need to bet all of our aces. I think if we're ahead with aces, we're still going to be ahead. I think we're going to bet with our sets and hope value, and just basically hope that he has value. And I think the same thing with 2-pair. We're going to bet our sets or 2-pair and hope that he actually connected in some way, maybe with an ace, maybe with an eight, maybe he has jacks and tens and he's going to call us all the way down for value. Our top pair type hands, I think, I'd say ace king, ace queen, we're betting for value. I kind of think we're going to be betting these small cards for value and possibly these offsuits. And you can see very quickly when we add these offsuit cards, we very quickly get off, increasing our frequencies to be a little bit too balanced. So I kind of think maybe these low aces, we're kind of hoping that we can bet. If he calls and we bet again, we could get him, maybe get him to fold a6, a7. I don't know if that player would have that. Maybe ace9. Those are the hands we're looking to fold with those. So these aren't necessarily value. They're kind of almost like a bit bluff. But at the same time, if we have ace6, a7, ace9, ace10 ourselves, then we check, and then we may encourage two more calls from a hand like ace, these weaker ace, aces that he might have called with. And maybe we do ace king as well. So maybe just do all ace kings, ace 2, ace 3, ace 4. So we have some solid value, and then these are kind of like mixed of value and kind of bluffs. We want to try to buy some equity on the turn. So I think that's going to be my betting range. I checked. So let's say here, let's say these are the ones that we checked. And we're checking these pairs. Oops. We don't want to include these. And we're going to get rid of our draws. And I think that's where we ended up making a mistake. I think we should have cbet this. All right, so on the flop, our equity was 54.5. Theirs was 45.4. Oops, 0.5. And then I'm basically checking 57.2% of the time. I'm not c-betting a whole lot. And that's kind of balanced because we know he's not going to hit the flop a whole lot. So, we're going to be betting really those 2-card backdoor flush draws. We could probably check some of our like king, queen, king, jacks hands, or bet some of those as well. But that's some of our no-made hands. So we checked, and he's going to have 100% of his range. So still 100%. He's got 149 combos. And then we see a turn card of a 5 of diamonds. And we are at 53.3, so we are still ahead. And he checks. I think now that we showed, weakness by checking, I think he would have bet. And I think full house probably checks. But I think 2-pair probably bets unless he's going for check raise. I think top pair is going to be betting. Maybe 9s, 10s, jacks. Just kind of depends on his play. So he checks. So I'm going to have those as his checking range, along with these. I would assume 2-pair and top pair probably bet. So that's going to be his checking range, and then it's on us. We showed some weakness, so definitely now I think with our top pair we're going to be betting here. I checked, so I think we would have bet our top pair. We don't really have any of our draws anymore. I think if we're still ahead, we're probably still ahead with these pocket pair below the top cards. However, I think we should probably go for some value with kings and queens. We could do it now. We could do it later. Bet on the turn and then check behind on the river, or possibly just go ahead and check now and bet the river. So I think one street is probably what we're going to get. So I think we would bet, probably check 9 I take that back. I think we check kings and queens and we would bet nines, tens, jacks. What we're hoping with nines, tens, and jacks is to fold out those two overcards, king, queen. Really, if he has them in his range, we want to try to buy our equity. But with kings and queens, we're less concerned. We know he's not going to call with 10 jack, but maybe if he catches a 10 or a jack, he'll call us when we have those kings and queens. Middle pair, I kind of feel like we should be betting here. If he folds, hey, great, but we're trying to buy our equity. Same thing with pocket pair below the second pair. We should be betting. Weak pairs, probably a check. No made hands, probably a check. So I think we've got those set. All right. So my range is very quickly kind of breaking down. But I think so is his. So he's got 67.8%. He's got 99 combos. We have 50 combos, and we see a jack club. And that is why if we had kings and queens, I think we can check here. And if he bets, we can easily call. If he checks, we can bet. And I think a jack is going to call us. But I think if we bet those two hands on the turn, he's just going to fold, and we win what's in the pot. So villain checks. He checks again. At this point, I don't think he has quads or full house. Maybe a middle pair. Maybe something like that. So 91.4%. It's on us. With our hands, what do we go for value with? We bet with our kings and queens for value. I think middle pair just calls or checks behind. We have some value. And if we have a jack, I'm not sure what other hands are going to call us at that point. So I don't think we're going to have much value. We don't have a bluff in our range. So, the question is, what are we going to use as a bluff? Should we use anything as a bluff? Maybe we use, king, queen as a bluff. Since that kind of eliminates the chance that he has like king, jack, or queen, jack. I think those are suitable hands. I didn't bet, so he shows king 6. That's not a hand that I had in his range. His starting range, you can see I didn't include any of those, but he check called those, which is pretty weak. And the question is, would he have called anymore? If he called with those, then he's probably calling with those, and possibly these offsuit aces. At least down to like a7, ace8, these offsuit broadways, probably those. I think this is probably his entire range. So does that really change anything? No, not really, because we were still focused on like how do we balance our range regardless of what he's going to have. I think we made the mistake because we had the king, queen of hearts, we had a backdoor flush draw, and knowing that he had so many hands and so many of these crappy cards in his range, I think we could have cbet here with our backdoor flush draw. If he calls, he calls, and then we check the turn and probably check the river. But I think it gives us a chance to win the pot. So I didn't get his range. It was too narrow. I think we kind of make a note now that this is a player that limp call in MP2 versus cutoff preflop raise with king 6 of spades. I think we'll kind of specify 7 big blinds because it was kind of a large raise here. So take a note there. He was much wider than I anticipated, but it still doesn't change the fact that I think the proper play for us would have been to c-bet the flop, and then move on with the river. So you can see that by the time we got to the river, the only hands I had was king, queen of diamonds and king, queen offsuit, which was fine, but that assumed that we were betting these backdoor flush draws, so hearts, spades, and clubs. All right, hopefully you like this. If you do, look tomorrow for another.